think this officially makes us a science podcast now, by the way, because we do have a doctor on with us today, and we thought we'd chuck it in. Top 3 men's physique bodybuilding athlete.
I'm a weirdo. I fucking love challenges. I like someone telling me shit is difficult and then put me in that hot pot. I'm good to go. I remember the first way for me to learn about fitness was reading like Men's Health. But even like, do you remember like bodybuilding.com, like those forums?
Yeah.
Your top tips to someone who wants to gain size?
I think my biggest mistake, especially when I was transitioning to full time, is
8 o'clock in the morning. I'll have fish and a rice cake.
All right, welcome back to Fish and a Rice Cake. I'm Jake, he's Jake, and we have got another guest episode today. So I think this officially makes us a science podcast now, by the way, because we do have a doctor on with us today as our guest, which makes us, I think it gives us more verification and credibility than 99% of influencers out there on socials.
You're going to be, most of like the viewers will be triggered though, because I'm not a real doctor, I'm a fake doctor, I'm a dentist, and you know, that can be...
It's good enough for us, mate. It's closer than we are, so we'll take it.
I got that title. I was like, screw them. I'm taking that doctor title 100%.
100%.
Yeah, you've got it in your bio, haven't you? You've got to have it in your bio, like doctor.
Perfect validity. I've got it. Why not take it?
Yeah,
definitely, man. Definitely.
Yeah. So we are joined by Rohan, Dr. Rohan. Obviously, online coach specialising in working with dentists, doctors and lawyers. Obviously, like you just said, a dentist yourself. And we thought we'd chuck it in. Top 3 men's physique bodybuilding athlete in Britain 2019, I think it was the most recent one.
Yeah, so 2019 was top 3. 2017 was also top 3. I think I got second in 2017. 2019, I managed to slide down the rungs a little bit. But I was very, very proud of those achievements whilst they're managing that with the dental job. That was tough, man. That was really
tough.
Man,
you should be. We definitely want to dive into a bit about how you did that, but do you want to just kick us off with a little bit about yourself, dude? A bit about your background and where you're currently at the minute?
Yeah, so as the Jakes have very, very kindly introduced, so what's up, guys? Rohan. Yes, I'm dentist. Well, was a full-time dentist. Now the dentistry is now a little bit of a side hustle. The online coaching is more of the main hustle, which is mental for me to be saying that because it's now about, I think it's been about 4 or 5 months when I've really tried to embrace that full-time aspect of it now. So it's been a bit crazy.
The side hustle originally, wasn't it? Coaching was the side hustle, dentist was the full-time job.
Yeah. So, like, long story short, okay, Asian kid has an Asian family. They love pushing their kids to do well. Started off doing well in school, enjoyed sports, enjoyed education. Always knew I wanted to not squander the opportunity. My parents kind of made sure they worked their ass off to get me in a good education. So they were like, okay, cool. We got to A-levels. Didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew I didn't want to do a desk job. Here I am doing a desk job. But I was like, I like talking to people. I like helping people. What can I do with that? They were like, look, you're a people's person. You're good with science. Look at dentistry. It's more flexible than medicine. You know, you're not going to go and do hours and years in the hospital, and you possibly have like a 9 to 5. And I was like, okay, cool. So did a bit of work experience, liked the crack, applied to university, got in, loved it. Weirdly enough, as education increased, fitness for me, which was always like a big thing growing up, like rugby, karate. I became black belt like age of 10. Yeah, man, and used to compete.
Beat the shit out of you.
I'm a weirdo. I fucking love challenges. I like someone telling me shit is difficult and then put me in that hot pot. I'm good to go. Like it's like being pushed outside my comfort zone. So I used to do like karate and rugby growing up, and then when it came to university, I engaged in ultra booze mode and obviously education mode because I was thinking, like, my parents are helping me with this. They put me in a good education. Let's not fuck this shit up. So went very dental, which was good at the time. But then I also lost my way with fitness. And I remember actually being the most unhappy at that point. So that's when fitness emerged into my life, when I started to have a little bit of a mental health challenge, well, maybe a little bit more, towards the latter years when I started getting to like finals, going through the process of becoming a dentist. Come 4th year, 5th year, I was like, I need something. And it wasn't until I would say about my 4th year of dental school, which is when I was about 22, I realized I really needed to get my fitness back because that was always the thing, my linchpin, which kept me kind of grounded.
Yeah.
So couldn't keep up with the rugby because I was playing with Bristol at the first year. But then as you're doing like a vocational degree, the interesting thing is like you don't have normal uni hours. It's not like you can just go to lectures. You have a job. You're treating patients on a clinic. Yeah. You're basically doing like an 8 to 5 most days, and then you're coming home and you're revising for your exam. So I knew that if I was going to do anything fitness based, it needed to be on my terms. Enters, a good breakup and a gym 24 hours. Then there you go. That's how I kind of fell into fitness.
Breakups make bodybuilders, don't they? That's what they say.
I'm telling you. And then it was kind of the standard thing: train arms and chest, looked good in a t-shirt, but literally didn't know what the fuck I was doing. No carbs after 6, you name it. That was literally my thing. I think it was like tuna pasta. I took chicken in a nightclub in Bristol. I remember I put it in a foil. I cooked some chicken breast and put it in my pocket. I was worried about losing my gains every 2 hours.
Yeah, I used to do that. I used to take cottage cheese sandwiches out with me, and I look back and I'm ashamed by that. Coming out of the nightclub like 2 a.m. with a cottage cheese sandwich. Like,
What's the worst thing you've done? Because I'll tell you, my worst one for definite was sitting in an 8 a.m. lecture, being educated in, I don't know, some dental health surveying we were doing at the time, and I was drinking liquid egg whites in the middle of a lecture, like cold. Thinking that I run out of protein shake. I was like, what do I do? All of the bro science was there. It was so dumb, honestly. And
and just get the eggs down.
Full on. Yeah, people definitely hated us because you get when you get a little stressed, the little parts come out, and the eggy ones aren't the best.
Yeah, I used to regularly go to uni with like 3 Tupperwares of just the exact same boiled plain chicken, plain rice, cold veg, and that'd be it for the day. Like when I was at uni and have that. But yeah, I have done the drinking eggs when I was younger for a brief stint until I think I got one that was like warm and it just made me fucking like instantly gip, and I was like, yep, not doing that again.
Disgusting. But I think we all have to go through that rite of passage. It's almost like a coach has to do all those things and fuck up so many times themselves to then kind of realise actually this isn't the right thing. So I was the same as you. I used to eat all my carbs during the daytime, cut them out.
Yeah.
Thinking I'd be gaining fat because I was not using the energy that the carbs were giving me overnight. So I was, it's just ridiculous.
And the irony is, I started to believe it worked because I was putting myself somehow in a calorie deficit, and it works. You get lean, and you think, everybody's got to stop eating carbs after 6. What you're doing is turning into fat. You shouldn't have been fat. And I'm like, oh my god. Now I look back.
Yes, isn't it? It's confirmation bias. If it works for you, you then put it on to everyone else.
Exactly. And that's why we have people doing like these crazy fasts nowadays. But yeah, so that was the journey. So I got to fitness. It's kind of yo-yoing, and then I think it's when I left university. I entered into like the working arena, and I realized, okay, I've got nothing to lose now. I haven't got so much of a social life as buzzing as it was before. Let's just enter into fitness. And I really liked the idea of training. And then my brother's always been one who's kind of motivated me and kind of pushed me along to rugby and karate because he did the exact same thing. He was like, look, bro, you're unhappy. You're not making the progress you want to do, like in terms of seeing where you go with fitness. So he said, I remember it was January the 1st, 2015, hungover as hell after New Year's Eve, obviously. And there was we were just Googling at the time. Do you remember Body Power, how big it was in 2015?
Yeah.
It was huge. Yeah. So I had no idea what Body Power was, but we found the Body Power website, and we found this competition called, what was it called at the time? It was a fitness modelling one. I can't even remember it. It was like it was like a mini competition held within Body Power itself. It wasn't like the PCAs or the 2 bro shows they have nowadays. It was a smaller one, and it was like a fitness modelling competition. So you had to be able to do different rounds of like judged on your physique, judged on your posing, judged on also like your marketability, because you could potentially win. Like the number one would get a photo shoot with Men's Health.
Okay.
And I was like, well, there's a competition. I like the idea of a competition. It's always worked for me, but I had no idea what I was getting myself into. So with all of my shit knowledge, I went into this idea of starting to prep and got myself into the best shape of my life at that time. And I realized, even though it was terrible what I did, all the methodologies, etc., I realized how much I love fitness, and it just snowballed. So after that competition, I got 3rd in that by pure fluke. Then I started learning, then I started developing, then I started reading, then I started getting coached formally by different coaches, did more competitions. 2 years later, I was doing, UK DFBA 2017, got 2nd that year, and then 2019 got 3rd, and then maybe this year is the resurgence. We'll see.
I was going to ask you about that. You seem to be training quite hard at the moment. You've been gaining for a while now, is that right?
Yeah, so I've been like in a calorie surplus for about the best part of like since my honeymoon, about like 10, 11 months. So yeah, I'm keen to see what I've been trying to building. Keen to see what reveals underneath. Like last year, I did a photo shoot in Dubai. Jake, you were there, so you saw. But it wasn't me going to the full extreme because I didn't want to kind of go like super diced and waste time. I was like, let's just get a little bit lean. Let's see what I look like. And I was like, oh, put on a bit of muscle. So I'm keen to see if I can hang with these younger kids nowadays who are still. Everyone seems to be getting bigger and a lot quicker nowadays, even the natural lads.
Mate, the standards class, when I did that show back last October, like I never went into it expecting to place. I knew I wasn't going to. It was kind of one of those, I'm lean enough, let's just jump in and have the experience of doing it. And there was about 15 of us backstage getting pumped up, and there was some big lads just there that I was like, fucking hell, like, this fucking, for naturals, this is impressive. And then we got to the side of the stage about 2 minutes before going on, and 3 other random lads just showed up out of nowhere, and they were fucking massive. They all ended up winning it. Literally no idea where they came from, but as soon as they walked in, it was like that thing of, okay, yeah, they've won that. That's top 1, 2, 3 right there. For naturals, like, it was ridiculous.
I think it's the natural bodybuilding. It's such a unique little niche that we have nowadays, but it is coming into its own. I think people are investing more and more time into it. People are more and more keen to see what they can do. I think, and also like with the power of social media, everybody sees stuff. They're like, I'll give that a go. I mean, I think I didn't know much about bodybuilding except for those when I was growing up. I mean, nowadays you've got social media, you've got Instagram, you've got everything, like TikTok, you can see everything everywhere. Whereas growing up, I remember the first way for me to learn about fitness was reading like men's health. Yeah. But even like, do you remember like bodybuilding.com, like those forums?
Yeah.
Like Ziz and simplyshredded.com and like, so those sort of like, those really.
Training plans was like bodybuilding.com, like follow like 12, 16 weeks, gym whenever.
That's how I did my first prep, was bodybuilding.com. There was I think it was like a Lane Norton photo shoot prep. Yeah. And I just followed it. Like, it was so generic. I was just like, it got me in shape. So. But yeah, it's amazing. It is a cool experience, and I think if anybody has ever thought about doing something outside their comfort zone, a photo shoot I think a photo shoot definitely, but for competitions a little bit more I'm on the fence on recommending that because it's quite extreme and it does take a lot of sacrifice, and that's probably why I don't do it every, like I see guys competing every year or twice a year. Like for me, it's the situation
required for that is just insane. That's taking over your life kind of thing, isn't it? Whereas right now, it's for you can probably, especially recently, obviously you've been gaining, but if you do it every couple of years or so, it's like you've got that freedom to enjoy life a little bit in between, and it's not just full commitment to stepping on stage every few months.
Yeah, do you know what? I don't even think it's dedication. I think you're right. I don't deny anything you just said, but I don't think it's dedication. I think nowadays it's time. And like for me, understanding that, look, Jake, you've got a kid, you've got missus. Jake, you've got missus. I've got married in the last few years. Like, things do change. My priorities when I was 25 was get lean, get shredded, and show it off and look good in photo shoots and preps. Now I've realised, hold on a second, like there's another picture here, and I need to make sure I don't just think about just myself, because it is a very selfish sport, bodybuilding. Like the amount of, especially that last phase, as you guys know, like when you're getting ready for a photo shoot, you are tired, you are hungry. The last thing you want to do is go out and try and save your macros for a meal out with the missus. It sounds bad, but you just can't. You just feel tired and you don't really want to, do you? So
yeah. So from that then, mate, 'cause I'm interested to know, obviously, at that point, you've competed a few times, successful with it, obviously a decent, really good career in dentistry. What was that tipping point for you to want to dip your toe into coaching? Like, what pushed you down that direction?
I think there's 2 points. One was knowing that people were asking me for advice a lot of the time outside of dentistry. Like, oh, you're in shape. How do you do this? Oh, you must literally live and eat and breathe it. And I was like, you really have no idea. Like, fitness is a big part of my life, but I think that the concept that it has to be your life for you to be in shape really annoys me. It triggers me a lot. Like, oh, you can't be a dentist and do that. You can't be a doctor or an accountant or a lawyer, and that triggered me a lot. And I thought, hold on a second. There's this notion now that you have to be a PT or you have to have a very chilled job or a chilled life for you to be in shape. And I thought that was holding us something which needs to be spoken about. because I could see a lot of my friends were asking me for advice, and you could see that their lifestyles were spiraling and they were changing. They were getting married, they were getting kids. Like if you're from my culture, you're going to go to like 10 weddings in the summer, and that can easily be you piling on several pounds of body fat because you think, fuck, okay, how do I challenge this social life and stay in shape and do your job? So for me, a big part, it was correcting the bullshit, which I could see a lot of, but then also correcting the bullshit you just see in social media. I think we all probably can say one of the main reasons why we do this is just to demystify the bullshit, take away the element of all of the crap that we've done, all of the crap that we've seen and heard, and try and at least give those rays of honesty and truth and factual stuff, which genuinely is evidence-based and genuinely works, which is simple. I think that's really important because, yeah, you can jump on TikTok, can't you? You can jump on Insta. You see these guys with huge followings, and they're just spouting stuff which, quite frankly, is just crap.
It drives me fucking mad. I put up something on Instagram yesterday about it. It was just like, because, and again, we were speaking about it just before we went live, me and Jake, about Stephen Bartlett and Diary of a CEO recently, and like the guests he's getting on there, and the misinformation that's being put out there. It's insane. It's insane. But you have to, that stuff sells, and that stuff, they glorify it, and it's clickbaity and things, and that's why we'll never have potential like huge followings and stuff, because what we're selling isn't the sexy stuff. We're selling like, it's the stuff that works, but it's not going to stand out in a world of people saying really kind of out there statements, which ultimately are probably making people worse off.
I mean, if you look at anybody's TikToks or Instagram Reels, we both know the ones which are the most out there, even if your guys put in good information, when you're the most controversial doing stuff, which is a pretty like random and niche, that's when it gets, suddenly a big view exposure, isn't it? Let's be honest. Like it's not you spouting off really useful information. That's why I find it so challenging now creating content, because although there's the paradox of saying the same stuff in different ways, because fitness hasn't changed, it won't ever change. Just the simple things which work. It's then also making it stay current with all these people like sticking their ass out on Instagram and getting loads of reels. Like how do you not be so superficial but still get that content out? So that's the beautiful challenge, I guess. But
trying to stand out, isn't it, to a certain extent, but then educating people along the way. So you always kind of want to get their eyes on your page by standing out, and then educating them after that, if that makes sense.
But in answering the second point to your question was what was my big kicker was COVID. Because apparently that's triggering. But the pandemic. But seriously, so the pandemic happened, and as dentists, we had like. I think it was about 7 or 8 weeks where we weren't allowed to work purely because we didn't know what regulations were safe for us to do. So in terms of exposure to viral pathogens, which is what COVID-19 was, the most at risk people were people working in ear, nose and throat medicine, obviously, because it was a respiratory virus. But then also the second ones were dentists and nurses. In fact, nurses being worse because they get all the fumes right next to us. So we were just told, okay, look, you're in a very compromised position. Your career is on pause. Just wait, we'll tell you. And we have a really great / not so great regulatory body which said nothing to us for weeks. So it was lovely. We had the first time in years I've taken so much time off work. But I was bored, and I also had I'm one of those people who needs to keep going, otherwise I lose my mind a little bit. And at the time I was coaching, but it was, I would say, on a small scale. And again, it was very much a thought in the back of my mind, and I thought, hey, let's start to push this now. I've got time. Why don't I start to build my brand? And it kind of snowballed again from there. So I started in COVID to push it more.
What were you doing at the time? Were you just putting content out there, or were you actually coaching people at that time?
At the time, it was like a handful of friends and colleagues who'd reach out to me that I would be giving them advice and doing like the odd training program, the odd nutrition program, but it wasn't really like tied together consistently. So I've been doing the coaching for a while, but I hadn't got my systems in place. And then it was that point I was like, well, I've got nothing to do. I've got a laptop and everyone's stuck in their four walls. Why do I not just start helping people and start formalizing it? So I started coaching a lot more thoroughly and putting a lot of time into it. And it just kind of blew up from there. So
yeah. I think a lot of coaches went through that. So I was very similar. I was online coaching people without even calling it online coaching. It didn't have a name. I was just sending word documents to family members who were asking for help. Because I was a PT, they knew I was a PT. I was, in shape. So you're sending them like Word documents with like a training plan and a nutrition plan on.
Exactly. It was exactly that. Like a really basic Excel or Word document. I was sending them out, and I was like, well, hold on a second. There are people out there doing this. Why am I not doing this?
Yeah, I was the same. I was like, flipping out. Like, and for me, because I was on the gym floor a long time ago, and I hated the fact that I was in there at like 6 a.m. till 10 a.m. Then I'd have, a couple of hours in the day where I had, not much going on. Then I was there all evening. So it was the lack of social time, so I didn't have a life essentially outside of personal training on the gym floor. So for me, going online, I was like, wicked, I can do this from my house. Do you know what I mean? I can do this stuff.
Absolutely. And I think what helped me massively was just looking at, I started to appreciate that as things got busy, I was like, okay, I'm a little bit by the book. I don't even think nowadays to be an online coach, you even need any qualification, but I wanted to have my personal training qualification behind me. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do all of that as well. Even though I've been competing and training now for the best part of a decade, I wanted to have that.
You had more knowledge than most PTs before you got your qualification, mate.
Exactly. I remember going there, and I remember I had an exam with NASM, and they said to me, I think they were like critiquing my advice, and they were like, it's spot on, but it's too advanced. So we have to ask you to make it a bit less complicated, otherwise you won't pass. And I was like, what? Like, that doesn't make sense, but okay.
The standard for the qualifications,
they're
terrible, aren't they?
Oh, it's awful. And like, in reality, none of that stuff really, like, there's a few things you can take away from it, but genuinely, it sounds really probably not the most politically correct. I don't really think about anything I've learned from that.
No.
Genuinely.
At the end of the day, your unique selling point is you. It's your knowledge. It's people buying into you as the person, the doctor, the person who understands his client's struggles and all that kind of stuff. And that's what's going to help people more than that qualification that you got. So
I think that's an interesting thing though, because from every profession, whether it be online coaching, whether it be even dentistry, like you don't walk out dental school knowing that you've done your so-called quotas of different types of procedures and think, okay, I'm the bee's knees when it comes to fillings or root canals or extractions. You learn on the job. You learn through your experience. You learn through doing and being taught and mentored. That's the same with, I think, with most jobs, and I think we just have to understand, like, you know this much when you leave. This is what you learn outside. So
yeah, it was quite eye-opening. I know I had when I came out of doing my degree and then doing my masters for nutrition. Like, I came out of that and I was like, wicked, I've got my masters behind me. If I advertise that, like, surely people are going to be like, oh, he's got a masters, he's going to know what he's on about, I'll definitely go with him. It meant fuck all. Like, people just didn't care. I think it's a bit different if you've got doctor in front of your name. I think that has a little bit more weight to it, but it is, like you said, Jake, people buying into you as an individual and you actually showcasing that you walk the walk, that you are in shape, that you do live that life, that you can help them.
I think that's a big challenge. If you're not walking the walk, it's a big challenge.
Yeah. And it's why, like, with our Blitz, we have quite a lot of coaches on it, don't we, Jake? Because for that reason, we kind of say to them, look, it's one of the best things that you can do as a coach is demonstrate yourself going through that process and what it takes and how it looks.
The thing is, we know, that you could be a fantastic coach and not necessarily be in shape. We know that, right? But your clients, your potential clients, they want to see you doing the things that you're asking them to do. And I'm a big believer in that. I think I will never ask one of my clients to do something that I've never done. Do you know what I mean? It's like, because I want to understand the struggles and you want to be empathetic towards what they're going through so you can relate back to them. And then that's where the coaching comes in,
my first coach who I ever picked was somebody who I knew personally, but also I respected how he looked. And I respected him for his knowledge because he had knowledge. He was a competitor, actually, who I competed in my first show. And then I took him as my first coach. But I knew he was an engineer. I knew for a fact that he knew his sports science and his nutrition. But more importantly, he was walking the walk. He was in shape. He was going to the gym. He was doing his steps. He was doing his cardio. He was doing his training. So it wasn't a case of there was a guy just spouting out knowledge. And I think you have to be able to make sure you do walk the walk and you demonstrate that day in, day out. You have to have that proof. Otherwise, what validity or what gravitas do you hold in front of your clients or people who want to be prospective clients? I think that's a really important thing.
Yeah. So fast forward to now. Obviously, you've been full-time coach for a while. Obviously, you started coaching in COVID.
Yeah.
So we wanted to kind of talk about your your clients, I suppose, and like their struggles and things. So what would you say are the biggest struggles your clients come to you with? Is it a lack of time? Is it the fact that because they're predominantly doctors, dentists, lawyers, that kind of thing? So how is it, what do they struggle with, and how is it that you kind of help them, I suppose?
I think more than anything is that these people are the people who I work with, mainly being dentists, like I would say it's 90% dentists, 99% dentists and doctors, a fraction of them are lawyers. But the reason why I say it's those three is because they all share the same problem. And when I look at it, each of them are so organized in their lives when it comes to their jobs. They can't think of their organization outside of their life, of their work life. So when it comes to themselves, they're the last thing they consider. It's okay, I've got these patients, I've got this clinic to attend, right? I've got to come home and see my family. Fuck it, I'll order delivery. Like they're an afterthought. So what my challenge is to remind them they need to be a forethought. They need to be organizing themselves to make sure that they don't turn around in 5 or 10 years and hate the fact that their health is spiraling. So typically it's the usual stuff. It's lack of time. It's a lack of routine. It's a lack of accountability when it comes to their health and fitness. And those are the three main things. And then likewise, in I think the sort of cherry on the top is that everyone loves food. Especially if you look at my sort of population of clients. If you're working as a dentist, without being too stereotypical, you're going to be in a South Asian culture. So there's going to be family meetups pretty much every weekend. There's going to be some sort of big ass meal cooked by some loving auntie or grandma who's going to be drizzling gallons of oil in there. And you're like, how the hell do I make that work? Or how do I go to that 5-day wedding and stay in shape? Those are the typical things that I think my clients struggle with the most. And it's just breaking them down individually and just saying, okay, let's just start to break it up into like manageable tasks. Right. You're busy as fudge. I look at you, Jake, and I understand particularly, look, you've got a little one. How do you make it work? You get up half an hour earlier. You do your steps before you start your day. Okay. Get yourself moving. Most of my clients are now ordering, I've got one in the corner, a walking pad, because they see the fact that if you don't have time, you make ways of making shit work. So it's not perfect, and I don't want them to be perfect. I think what I'm just trying to do is just to say, make the best of your scenario and just do it regularly.
Well, perfection doesn't exist, and I say that to all my clients. And listen, I would never expect perfection from anyone, but I just, if you're doing something, so for example, your clients, Rowan, right? I imagine a lot of them come to you, they're tired, they're fatigued, et cetera, and you're kind of like, well, listen, you're doing nothing now. So imagine you started doing 3 gym sessions a week, started moving a little bit more, started tidying up your diet where you can do, while still enjoying the family events and things. Like you're all of a sudden, you've gone from doing nothing to doing 80% more. And like, you're going to see massive changes, even if it's not perfect.
It was that preconception as well, which I had that, not I had, sorry, but people had that. If you wanted to be in shape, you had to do loads. You have to do 5 days in the gym. You have to eat 6 times a day. You have to do 20,000 steps. And I'm like, no, let's break it down. We're not doing that. Let's just make it, like you said, 3 workouts. Let's aim for them. What I always say to them is, if you tell me 4, let's do 3. If you say to me 5, let's do 4. Let's make it as real as possible. I'd rather you do the shit that you can do regularly, consistently, and that you're going to enjoy, and not hate me and hate the process. And that's going to allow you to actually keep this shit up, because right now you're pretty much hot and cold. You're 50-50 with your fitness and your lifestyle. So let's just go for something in the middle and keep going. And they're like, you sure I shouldn't do more? I'm pretty sure as shit. If you can do it for 6 months, if you can do it for 6 months and keep showing up and get yourself some results, then why would you want to do more? Because you're only going to then pull away from other aspects of your life. You're going to take away.
Yeah, so when we get on the train, we do a very similar kind of assessment week to yourself, Rowan, right? So where we get people to log their training, their diet, their food, etc. And as part of people's training assessment, people always say, I can train 5 days a week. I'm like, right, let's do 3.
Yeah.
And like, let's get comfortable doing that. Then we'll go to 4 if you want to. And then if you really want to, we can go to 5 over time. But you should always start with less that you can do consistently, like you say.
100%. So I think with the first thing we say is just like, let's just break it down into the workouts. Just go 3 times a week. And then for me, I think the biggest thing is just education. It's so amazing how many medical professionals know fuck all about nutrition. Honestly, it's incredible. Like understanding what a macro is, teaching them, and I'll go through the basics from nutrition to calorie intake, understanding that you can eat clean and get and put on weight. It's just helping them understand they need to what they need to do given their scenario. It is challenging though. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to glorify it and say you can have it best of both worlds. You can, eat whatever you want and work out minimum times a week. I just have to explain to them that we need to tailor it to your scenario. And it's very much, I think, setting their expectations. I think that's the big thing.
And I think it's like you said, is when you show someone how simple it can be and that they don't have to do everything under the sun, it gives them that realization of, oh, maybe I can do this. Because we have it all the time, like in Blitz, for example, which is a bit more of our like aggressive fat loss program. The first few weeks, we'll get questions like, how many EAAs do I need to be taking? Like, what time do I need to be having my creatine? Like, when can I cut off my water? What sugars do I need to avoid? And we're literally constantly like, you don't need to worry about this. You don't need to worry about this. You don't need to, like, just keep it simple, hit your targets, do your steps, get 3 workouts in, and trust us. And like, it is over the first few weeks as they start to realize that they're like, oh, this is actually a lot easier than like what I thought it could be. I've been making this like you say all the time, Jake, majoring in the minors. I've been focusing on all the wrong shit for the last few years. That's just overcomplicated it and made it so much harder.
Yeah,
absolutely. What I just try and say is just look at making whatever you do as efficient as possible. So if it's 3 workouts, make them 3 solid workouts. When you're doing your steps, push yourself with your steps. Don't just do the least you can do. Do the best you can do that day. When it comes to your food, okay, embrace the suck. That it's going to be that you're going to have to eat less when you're trying to drop that body fat. But remember, it's only a short period of time, and then we're going to crack on again and have a little bit more balance later down the line. Yeah. I think you guys put it really nicely in a podcast, and I stole your verbiage, to be honest, because I was saying, like, listen, guys, I do say it, but I think the way you said it was just so spot on. It's like, look, you have to get to where you want to be or start making movement to where you want to be before you start trying to be super flexible. Because if you try to be ultra flexible, because that's the sexy thing now, isn't it? Yeah. Sustainable fat loss. Yeah. What does that actually mean? Like, it doesn't mean go out on week 1 for a curry and 10 pints or 5 pints and think, okay, I'll fit it in my macros. No, get yourself to the point where you've got a routine up, you're seeing the changes, and then when there's the big things, yes, plan those in. Absolutely. Have a refeed weekly, in my opinion. That's a good way of doing things. That keeps it sustainable. But sustainability comes from the long-term approach where you eventually, when you're out of a diet phase and you come to maintenance and you go in and out of different phases. That's the sustainable bit rather than living off poverty calories.
Yeah, I think, like you say, it's sexy now online for people to say, I think I did content on it this week and you did as well, Jake. It's like, it's sexy to say, eat what you want and get results and, and the sustainable approach and things. But ultimately, fat loss is hard, right? So there is going to have to be push and pull somewhere. And if you commit a period of time to getting yourself into shape, the flexibility comes back after that. And that's, we'll get you into shape. We'll get you looking great, feeling great, and then we'll bring back in the night at the pub on a Friday. Gradually, we'll show you how to manage it whilst maintaining the results. But you can't expect to do the same things and get a different outcome, So that's something has to change.
I think that comes with the sort of territory of just gauging people's expectations, because there is an element where some of my guys, I think if I did push them, it's like there's like a fine line. It's like a tipping scale. Like if you push them too flexibly, they won't get the results. If you push them too much, they won't stick with it either. So, and I think with every client-coach relationship is different. You have to gauge every client differently. So some of them I know I can push a bit more, like, okay, rein it in. Some of them I know I have to give them a bit more leeway because everyone's lifetime circumstances are different. If you're a young parent and you can only hit 2 workouts a week because you're the mum, so be it. Then okay, we'll give you a bit more leeway, and it may just take longer. And I'll just make that very clear. Like, okay, I understand this is your life and your scenario, and you want to get in shape. It doesn't mean that this is the wrong way, and nor is this way the better way. If this means that you'll stick at it for longer, just know that it's going to take you longer. So I think it's just knowing that if that took Joe Bloggs 10 weeks, it might take you 16, but that's not a bad thing.
Yeah. And that's what a good coach does. It, you're just kind of laying out those expectations and again, meeting them where they're at and not expecting everyone to do the same because,
100%.
Yeah. So I was, and I remember I've asked you this before because I remember when you took me to the ice cream place in the Dubai Mall. I was asking you about this because I've got a few clients who are tattoo artists who are literally stuck to a chair all day. So when it comes to trying to help them get like the steps in and get their expenditure in, it's tough, man. And I knew it would be the same for you working with a lot of dentists and obviously being a dentist yourself. And I remember you asking this, so I wanted to ask you on here, like, how have you found the best way to help people work around that is when they're physically stuck to a chair all day?
I mean, again, it's not a sexy answer. It's just the truthful one. So it's a case of, okay, problem solving that challenges. What can we do around being stuck? So, for example, if you're in a sedentary job, I'll say to them, can you get up in the morning a little bit earlier? do something before your day starts. In the middle of the day, when you're going to have a coffee and chill at your desk, or you're going to chill between patients, or have that pause, can you go speak to someone else in the office, but the other end of the office or the other end of the practice? For me, it's like, okay, when you go get your client, you go get your next tattoo client, can you go and get them as opposed to sending them in? Like simple things, although it may seem so irrelevant, they start to add up. It might end up being 1,000 more, just you going to go get your patients or your clients. Park further away at work. When you go to the supermarket, look at way of walking through each aisle before you want to get to your aisle. Don't just walk directly to your aisle, knowing where exactly the bird's eye fish fingers are. Go down every aisle. It's just finding ways to make reasons how you can move. But I think the key thing is just understanding also it's an average of the week. So if you've had a shit day and you've not moved that much, what can you do on the other days to kind of catch up and just get the best average of the week? So those small things help, but knowing that, okay, if you've got some downtime at the weekend, cool, it's good to be social with your friends and family, but you have every opportunity to steer that conversation into, should we go for a walk with my in-laws? Should we go out and take a picnic? But why don't we park and then walk out into the middle of the Windsor Great Park, for example, is what I would say to my clients. So do stuff like that you can just find ways to be active. So that way you're killing two birds with one stone. You're enjoying your fitness because you're spending it with your loved ones. You're not hating the process on the Stairmaster, but you're actually with your family and you're getting your steps in quite passively, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. We say the same. And I think the big thing you hit there was that certainly the averages across the course of the week, because again, like we work desk jobs, when I'm doing check-ins, I could do 5,000 steps in a day, less. Yeah. But then at the weekend, I'll make sure I get the pooch out and go for a big old walk and bring that number up, and that's definitely a good way to approach it.
And obviously, the obvious ones is like getting a walking pad. So most people, when they want to be at home, they want to be around their family. I'm like, well, you can be around. Just stick Netflix on. You and your missus can watch it. You just have it slightly louder, and you just put the Netflix and walk next to her.
Netflix and walk.
Yeah, literally. Exactly.
Netflix and steps.
That's how I look at it. It's like, just how can we?
You should trademark that. You should trademark
that. And then I think the other one is just saying, look, okay, and there comes a point where, again, it's that expectations of what's realistic in your family and your life. If on average you can only hit 8,000 or 9,000, okay, it is what it is. Then we just have to know that it's just going to take you a bit longer. So long as they know that if you explain to them, if I just try to explain my clients the science, this is how energy is burnt, this is how energy is consumed. We're just trying to make sure that the expenditure is more than what we need. We're going to drop body fat, but if we're not getting that much, we just have to take ourselves a bit longer.
Yeah.
So basically, you give everyone 10,000 steps, expect them to hit it every single day.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And if they don't, you tell them to push harder.
Not working hard enough, really. Let's be honest. You're a shit dentist, and you're a shit coach.
Right.
It's weird though. One thing that, sorry, Jake, just to interrupt. One thing that I've done with that to help work around, that I've advised to literally maybe 2 clients at most, is I've got them to get a weighted vest as well, just for the pure reason, a very, very light one. But for the pure reason, again, I think they were both tattoo artists, and they were like, look, I'm getting up to go for some steps in the morning. I'm doing some in the evening, but I'm literally maxing out at like 6,000-7,000 a day, and I've just not got time to do any more. And I was like, all right, cool. I was like, I tell you what, why don't we put on a 5 kilo vest for the extra 2,000 steps that you're doing in the evening at home on your pad? I was like, and we just had a bit of resistance, because it might help increase the expenditure a little bit. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't recommend that to a lot of people, certainly not a lot of people that potentially already have a lot of weight to lose, because you don't want to put more pressure on the joints. But even something as simple as that for people, if it's appropriate, it can be really, really useful. And it has helped quite a bit for those guys. Just it takes that pressure off of not having to get more steps in.
And I've heard an ice bath is really good for fat loss as well.
That's all you need to do. I like warm water, man. I just don't like cold water. I just can't get the head around this ice bath.
I don't like the thought of it. I do it at, I know, because a part of a Tough Mudder's like a big ice bath, like plunge pool thing in it. Yeah, I think that's the only time I'd get in an ice bath.
Don't get me wrong. I've done it when I've had really bad DOMs, but to help calm muscle soreness. But that's like once every 6 months. Like I really don't. It doesn't make sense to me. Like this idea that it stimulates like mitochondria and fat burning cells, and look, there's not that much research into it.
And the thing is, if you enjoy it, if people enjoy it, go for it. I would never knock someone for doing it. And but I think it's just it's not going to be the magic thing which is going to change everything else. You've got to be doing the basics around that. And that's the thing that frustrates me, I think, a little bit.
Most people, I feel like the people who tend to want to jump on these fads are the ones who haven't actually got the basics down yet. So it's like
100%. It's looking for a quick fix. I did a video on ice baths the other day, and I worked out that on average, it was literally even like a 10-minute session in an ice bath, which no one does, right? No one sits in it for 10 minutes. It burns less than like a quarter of an Oreo in terms of calories. Like it's something and nothing, because I think the limited research there is, it's like 10 to 15% increase in calorie expenditure at most. But then that's if you were to be in it all day, which obviously no one is. You're in it for like I don't know, 60 seconds. People might stay in it 2 minutes. Yeah. When you condense that down, it's literally nothing.
If some people say they feel better after it, so if you're doing it from like a mental perspective, like it just starts the day and
that's fair play. Like crack on.
I'm all for it.
It's mindset, yeah, absolutely. Like doing something that's uncomfortable, then crack on. I just think if you're using it for the wrong reasons, you think it's going to suddenly change your life in terms of resetting your metabolism and all that. Think again, mate.
So, obviously, we're going to go down a little bit of a different avenue, but because you're gaining, are you gaining size still? Or are you kind of?
I've got my goal, right? So at the moment, I weighed out this morning. It's kind of fluctuating, 77.85. I'm meant to be hitting around 78, trying to finish around 78.5 at the end of this month.
Okay.
Then it will be time to. So I spoke to my coach the other day. He's actually a competitor I used to compete with in 2017. Named Simon Gooding. Nice guy. Really good guy. Really good coach as well. So the plan is to kind of do like a mini tidy up for like until summer, and then when summer hits, then just go balls to the wall. Really, ready for potentially a show Octoberish time.
Nice, mate. Nice. So if you, because obviously we've got a couple of clients who are building muscle, and obviously people listening to this will probably be intrigued to hear your thoughts on it as well. But I think I know what you're going to say. But your top tips to someone who wants to gain size:
focus on getting strong. Don't focus on the scale. Focus on getting strong as you can. Sleep as much as you can. I think my biggest mistake, especially when I was transitioning to full time, was juggling sleep. Like I didn't have an opportunity to hit 7-8 hours a night sleep. Sometimes when I was doing work, it would be very unhealthy, like activity, like staying up till like 11, 12 at night sometimes just to get shit done. Yeah. And that means like lack of sleep and therefore lack of recovery. Then you just feel crap the next day. But honestly, sleep, I think, is, in my opinion, one of like nature's natural steroids. Like if you sleep well, it sounds awful, but if you sleep well, you will feel 10 times better the day after. And if you feel 10 times better, you're going to train 10 times better. Your mindset's going to be 10 times better. Your motivation's going to be 10 times better.
You're going to eat better.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think sleep is both for fat loss and gaining is one of the most important things people just tend to like neglect and I think we just tend to take for granted, to be honest. And I've tried not to, but now I'm trying to hit like good 7 hours. Now I have a bit more time to myself. So yeah, definitely focus on your numbers. Don't get too focused on the scale weight. Okay, I need to see those numbers rise, because you could just be packing on a shit ton of fat mass. But then, like on the flip side of that is expect yourself to get squishy. Expect the love handles to appear. Like I've had to embrace the fact that I don't love the way my belly fat rolls over the sides, but I'm shifting the most amount of weight I've ever done. I do feel the strongest and the most full I've ever felt.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. So I did an episode the other day with one of my clients who's gained like 16, 17 kilograms. He's incredible. But again, he said the exact same thing as you. Is like, when I asked him how he manages the mental aspect of gaining body fat, he said, well, obviously I don't feel great all the time when I'm, my top off, because he has gained a little bit of body fat, but he focuses on the fact that he's the strongest he's ever been. If he's lifting more than he ever has done, he feels great on a training.
Absolutely. And just embrace that this is a nice time for you to be a bit more social as well. Like I've tried to look at it as not just a gaining phase, because I don't live like a bodybuilder. And like, no disrespect to any of these guys who live and eat and breathe the sport. I like doing my approach to fitness, which is probably the most, not the most conventional, which is go into a competition, fuck shit up, do as best as you can, maybe win or get placed pretty well, but stay in your own lane and enjoy life outside of it, because I like that. So, and that for me is sustainable. So it makes me enjoy the process. So if you can make sure there's enough, family life, but built into that, there's enough time with your missus and your mates, and have a pint if you fancy a pint. Yes, have a cheeky takeaway. Absolutely. Look at the big picture, just like we always say with fat loss, just say with gaining, is what are you doing 80 to 90% of the time? If you're pretty much switched on, that's great. If you're ticking your boxes like your sleep, your hydration, your protein intake, your training, you're gonna do more than fine. Okay, if you're gonna try
gaining for now, right?
Sorry,
how long have you been gaining for?
Like consistently since this particular phase, 11 months. But prior to that, I have been pretty much gaining for the past 2 years.
Cool. So, right, that's what I wanted to get out of you, because again, I think a common misconception, of course, is that the fat loss you can do a lot in a very short space of time. Gaining muscle takes fucking time, right?
Are we talking if we're talking naturally, like myself, you need time. Everybody needs to give themselves time. Because I'll give you an idea. So after my 2019 show, 2020 came, and then that was obviously COVID. That year, I don't think anybody could really do very much in terms of training. I just trained hard in my brother's garage. 2021 was pretty much the year where I maintained, because I got married that year and I was just trying to get back into work. From 2021, pretty much the end of 2021 to today. So that's what, 2.5 years I've been focusing on just getting big. I've done a tidy up in between. Don't get me wrong. There's been phases where you do see, okay, I'm starting to get a little bit softer here to tidy up. And I've managed to just pull my weight from 2019 on stage. I probably was, I'm not the heaviest guy. I think I was probably around 69 kilos on stage.
Yeah. Okay.
And then at the moment, I'm 78. So it's 9 kilos. I wouldn't say I wouldn't translate it into 9 kilos. I'm probably going to be like, if I could be 72, 73 on stage, I'd be a happy bunny. Maybe I might be 72. That'd be amazing for me. And like, if you're looking realistically speaking, for that 2 years, a kilo to 2 over that period of time of quality muscle, for me, that's awesome. Especially that the latter portion of me, being lifting for like the best part of over a decade now.
Yeah, because I've got a couple of clients who are gaining, and I do. And again, as a coach, obviously you've got to lay out the expectations at the start and just say, listen, this is going to take time. And I think people do get frustrated, after 11, 12 weeks that they've not seen too much. And I'm like, listen, we're just getting started. You've got to be in this for the long term. And it's a hard thing to get your head around, I think.
I had a client, so really, really lovely guy, and he's a dentist, and he got lean for his a friend of his weddings, and he got somewhere into like, I would say maybe the low 60s, and he's like, my goal is to be lean 70. I was like, I do hope you understand that I've been training for 13 years to get from 61 kilos to now 77 kilos, like 13 years. Give yourself, a kilo to a kilo and a half is like a goal of lean mass a year. For me, it's an incredible achievement for a natural lifter. And it actually triggered him really badly, and he didn't want to talk to me for about a week because he was like, "You're selling me." I thought I'd be massive, and I was like, "Listen, I can't change how it works unless you
control like biology and physics."
It's biology and physics. Like, there's no physical way you can do that. Like, you can fill out a t-shirt, you can put 5 kilos on, but you'll fill it out, but for the wrong reasons. Do you want to feel good when you take that t-shirt off? Yeah. Do you want to feel good? How you and healthy and look differently, because the whole point of us losing that weight was not to put it all back on. It's to build you back up in the way that is a controlled manner, that you look good and you feel good, you feel strong, you feel healthy. So look at this as a long-term picture, and I think that's the biggest takeaway is you're not doing this for a couple of weeks. Even I would say 6 months is not enough. I would say if you can give yourself 6 months plus to a year for each phase of gaining that you're doing, that would be ideal.
100%. Yeah, no, happy you said that, mate. That was exactly what I wanted to say.
So, just to round up then, dude, final question is really simple. What is one piece of advice that you wish you'd have got sooner when it comes to your own physique development?
Jesus Christ.
Putting you on the spot there.
It's right, well on the spot.
One piece of advice I would have got. I honestly would have said, strip it back to basics. Track your calories.
Say strip then.
That's a good one as well, but I'll come there. Strip it back to basics. Just track your calories. You are literally pissing in the dark if you don't know what you're consuming. Start tracking your calories, and don't look at one portion of this, one handful of that. I'm eating enough protein. You don't know what you're doing until you actually start tracking it. And take photos, no matter how comfortable or how unconfident you are. Take photos consistently so that you can see that you're moving in the right direction. For me, it's been a case of getting a coach and doing all of those 3 things together consistently, and that's what's helped me massively. But yeah, just
it's data. You need data.
You need to know what you're doing, and the only way you know that is being a science guy. I need to know that there is some sort of quantitative information behind me to be able to go, okay, I know I'm on the right track. If you're saying I feel I'm covering the right thing, probably don't have a clue what you're doing, mate.
Yeah, and you know what? Weirdly, like when I was young, and you mentioned this earlier, you kind of accidentally get into shape, but at the end of the day, you don't actually know what got you there. Whereas
Exactly.
the data's like, okay, this is what I did.
Exactly, it tells you, stares at you right in the face, and you just know, all right, I don't need to worry that it was the creatine which made me jacked, or it was. I know it was this has worked. Like you don't think there's 10 different factors, so. Definitely start being accountable to real data. That's what, if we summarize it, that'll be it.
Wicked.
Yeah, spot on, mate. I think that's it, dude. I think we're good, aren't we?
Pretty much.
Cool.
No, it's been a pleasure to have you on, mate. I know we've spoken a fair bit on Instagram and stuff, so it's good to finally chat.
No, I really appreciate you guys having me down. Now I feel truly honoured after the fantastic lineup you've had so far. Hopefully we can keep going.
Yeah.
Until we get done the mic on, and then it just goes scraping the bottom of the barrel. Then, No, thanks for coming on, mate. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, boys. I really appreciate it. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too, and we'll catch you all in the next episode.
Bye,
Peace.